Hey guys, Level Cap here, and today we're taking a look at Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts 2. And if you're not familiar with these sniper games, well, the name sort of says it all. You play an expert marksman tasked with taking out key targets in multiple missions. This time around, the developers put a bigger emphasis on long-range sniping, realism, the sandbox experience, and upgraded visuals. I'll be covering some of my most satisfying shots in the video. If you're interested in the game, be sure to check my link in the video description to pick it up, and also a big thank you to CI Games for sponsoring this video. Now, just like the previous sniper game, Contracts 2 is a non-linear sandbox shooter. You can complete objectives in each region in whatever order that you like. Each of the 5 regions feature several points of interest to explore and objectives to complete. On top of those objectives, you can also complete a variety of challenges, like killing multiple enemies from a specific spot or dropping parts of the environment onto your targets. So while you could in theory rush through all of the missions in 15 to 20 hours, there's actually a ton of replayability with all the challenges and extra stuff. The developers are also releasing the game's first DLC for free when it's ready. It'll add a new region to the game, so there's plenty of more content and hours of play in that as well. Now, unlike the previous sniper games, Contracts 2 places a lot of emphasis on extremely long-range kills. 3 of your kill assignments have you take out a target from over a kilometer away. In my playthrough of Contracts 1, I don't think I had any kills from over 500 meters away. So getting to take out targets from crazy far ranges really increased the immersion. Now, in the previous game, there was rarely a situation where bullet velocity felt like an obstacle. This time around, I had to wait for targets to stand still before taking my shot. In particular, one mission, I was taking out some satellite dishes on a high-value target in an enemy base. And of course, I messed up, alerting the entire base, which caused the high-value target to attempt an escape. And it was the first time I really had to grapple with compensating for the range of the engagement. So I missed a bunch of shots trying to shoot him through his truck's windshield. But then I spotted an explosive barrel and shot it as he drove by, blowing up his truck in the process. The game encourages you to be patient or use the environment to set up traps for enemies. And when it works out, it can just be so crazy satisfying. And some of my highlights from the game were taking out an entire enemy base without alerting the guards. There can be over a dozen guards in any given area, so taking them out in a sequence that will avoid detection is extremely challenging. Managing which guards patrol where, knowing their lines of sight, the CCTV cameras, and ensuring every kill is a one-hit takedown is a lot to juggle. But there's nothing like walking through a ghost town after killing every guard in the area. Now, the drone and turret returns from Contracts 1 to help you manage these encounters. The drone can mark enemies, interact with control panels, and be equipped with weapons that subdue guards. However, each region does have anti-drone towers that will block you from using your drone to scout key areas. You can avoid their area of effect, but it's clear that you're not meant to rely 100% on your drone for spotting enemies or dealing with obstacles. Now, the turret is where things get really cool. You can upgrade your turret via the perk system to be a silent sniper rifle that you can mark and remotely execute targets with. This is so freaking cool when you need to eliminate multiple targets in close proximity without alerting the others. Of course, that being said, the perks don't come without their downsides. You're stuck with essentially a bolt-action turret if you want it to be suppressed, which means it can't quickly take out multiple targets. For that ability, you have to go unsuppressed. Both setups have their uses. I never felt hindered by either, it just sort of changed up my approach. And while the game emphasizes stealth a lot, I completed several missions by just quickscoping and busting out an assault rifle. And as satisfying as it is to snipe a target from hundreds of meters away, it's also very much enjoyable to clear a room full of targets like an elite super soldier. You have both options in this game. Now, probably the most satisfying kill during my time with Contracts 2 was this shot taken on a moving elevator. I didn't realize it at the time, but this is one of the regional challenges. After clearing the area of guards, I took the elevator up to my target. Lining up the shot and waiting for the perfect moment to fire actually was really intense. I could feel my heart rate going up. Also, I noticed I was holding my breath IRL, like all good video game snipers should. And it paid off. The shot turned out perfect. I couldn't have asked for a better takedown, and moments like that are sprinkled throughout the game. Sometimes a target will poke their head into view of a window, Other times they'll stop to give some grandiose speech about how their evil actions are actually for the greater good, and landing their shots are just all that much more rewarding. Who doesn't like to take out the big bad guy in the middle of his speech? Now, one of the other things that sets Contracts 2 apart from its predecessor is the visuals. The environment and lighting in this game just looks incredible. All of the footage in this video is the game on max settings, and while I wouldn't want to call the previous game ugly by any stretch, the sequel is on another level. When you load a region for the first time, the opening shot is always this gorgeous vista showcasing the map's climate and terrain. And every time I was loading in, I was just really going, dang, this game looks great. And not just from a distance either. The smaller details like props and interiors look fantastic as well. It's clear the developers spent a huge amount of time designing the levels and environments. And speaking of level design, a few things actually stood out this time around. Because the maps are so much larger than the previous game, there's a lot more variety in the level design from one area of a region to another. There's also tons of interconnecting pathways between key areas, so you're not just following a linear path through an otherwise open region or trying to climb the terrain like a mountain goat. If you want to go somewhere on the map, there's going to be a lot of ways to get there, and they all have their own strengths, weaknesses, and points of intersection. And the same applies for the interiors as well. Each building and base has multiple routes through them with varying elevations and breaching options. The level design reminds me a lot of classic emergent sim RPGs that let you go wherever you wanted at any time. But the thing that tied all this openness together with the gameplay is that every level is designed to lead you to spots with a clear view of objectives. It's kind of like following the rainbow to a pot of gold, but every color is a different path. Some of these paths also lead to really interesting takedowns, like sliding down a vent shaft and headshotting a guard standing right below it. It feels like the developers really didn't want you to miss out on having fun, cool little moments, so they just peppered the entire maps with them, so no matter which way you go, you're probably going to have some really cool option of taking down your target. And a good example of this is the catwalk areas of this interior mission here. The enemies are all over the place and there's armored vehicles on patrol, so taking the high ground is the obvious safe route, but there are also snipers and guards posted on the catwalks as well. Dropping them like hot potatoes, but also hoping that they don't go over the railing as they die gives this safe route its own layer of tension. Really, I think what attracts me the most to the game is that attention to detail. The developers know the game should be 100% focused on empowering the player to take cool shots or complete objectives in interesting ways. Even in the straightforward situations like taking out a lone guard, you can do something fun like shoot the grenade that they have on their belt and blow them up. Now, of course, they section off many of the targets, putting them in bases that you're going to have to infiltrate, but even in those situations, you're still afforded a ton of freedom to explore. I feel like most other games would force you to take a shot from a very specific location. Contracts 2 gives you a playground full of options and lets you pick the best one. All in all, if you enjoyed the first Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts, well, the sequel is everything it did, but a lot better. And if you just enjoy sniping games in general, this is a fantastic one. It's a more refined, expansive, and satisfying experience overall. If that sounds like your cup of tea, use my link in the video description to grab the game. Thanks again to CI Games for sponsoring this video. Happy sniping, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap signing off.